It came. It finally came. The one Cooper's been waiting for. It is the Fender American Vintage II Jazzmaster. We're going to tell you all about it, so stay tuned. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
And I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas, and you can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos. If you want to support the channel, visit our spring store link below for custom swag, and check out our podcast. It's the Fretboard Confessional, wherever you get your podcasts. So this is the one you've been waiting for.
Oh, I've been waiting, let me tell you.
So American Vintage II, if you're not familiar, Fender relaunched their American Vintage line. Years ago, they'd had it. They had replaced it with the American Original line that went from year-specific to decade-specific. And while initially received well, I think overall people were like, yeah, we want year-specific stuff. And so they've returned to that, launching new years. So like instead of a 52 telly, it's a 51 telly, differences and so forth. And this is the American Vintage II Jazzmaster. What year is this again?
66.
That's what I thought. So 1966 American Vintage II Jazzmaster. And you are a Jazzmaster lover?
I'm a big fan of the Jazzmaster. And so I believe in the original run, not the American originals, but the original run of the Vintage. It was a 65 Jazzmaster. They moved it to a 66. It's a cool, you know, they pick the years because they're the first years of specs that became, you know, really associated with the model. And we went to that Fender event. You couldn't come, you would have loved it. We missed you. But it was in Austin, it was during ACL, and they had like a dealer preview of some of these models. I got to play the Dakota Red version, and I was a big fan. They have 3 colors in the 66.
That was Dakota Red, not Fiesta Red, by the way.
True. Yeah. Old fans of the channel.
Yeah. Old video reference.
So they got the 3-color sunburst, they got a Dakota Red, and they got the Lake Placid Blue. The other 2 that are not sunburst, as you can obviously see, that's not a matching headstock. The other 2 have matching headstocks, so that's, you know, a cool year-specific thing.
Could you imagine what the matching headstock would look like? Would you burst from the middle of the headstock, or just go with the middle color? Or go black?
I mean, with the Luxes, they do black.
Yeah.
I think it looks fine.
It could be cool with a burst. Just
tiny,
throwing it out there.
They call that the tiny burst. Teeny burst. So we're still waiting on the Dakota Red and the Lake Placid Blue. This is the first one we've gotten. The big things with the specs, obviously, it's a bound fretboard. That was added in 65, but obviously in 66 they had it too. The big deal is the switch from dot to block inlay, which is awesome.
Yeah. And
then otherwise, it's really made to be, you know, vintage, very vintage specific. It's nitro finish on the neck and the body. It's got the AV2 66 Jazzmaster pickups, simple switching, got the rhythm circuit. It's cool. Got the OG tuners.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the reasons you were anticipating these coming in is you got an Ultra.
I did.
You've kind of thought about switching that?
I've thought about it a little bit. Yeah. So here's my thing. With the Ultra, I love that guitar. And there's things that I really like about it that now that I've played this, it makes it an even harder decision. Ultra has a really nice satin neck. You can hear that.
Squeaky.
I'm getting stuck over here. But obviously it's nitro finish. It'll wear down and be really nice over time. But I really like the satin on the Ultra. The big deal for me was going to be the pickups to kind of see. Obviously, you know, the tuners over here, vintage style versus locking on the Ultra. That's a really nice feature to have. I don't really go that crazy for super contoured heels or anything, even though it's nice and you don't even notice it. But that is something that's not a big deal to me on this one. I think it's just cool to have it be classic.
Well, this is where all the money's made anyway.
Yeah. The cash register.
That's the cash register, upper register, cash register.
So the big deal is this is not a Ultra versus AV2 comparison, but on the rhythm circuit, which is one of the defining factors of a Jazzmaster, on the Ultra, it's an out-of-phase circuit. I don't really use that much.
Yeah.
And I like the sort of mystique of having a dedicated rhythm section, a little bit darker tone, and the rollers kind of controlling tone and volume. This all goes away when you switch up. But Ultra has noiseless pickups. This is the big thing that is my dilemma.
Yeah.
Noiseless pickups, they sound awesome. Like the Jazzmaster noiseless, I really like them, but I always thought maybe I need that old school Jazzmaster jangle that's going to be real poppy and kind of maybe noisy, but cool. And then I started playing around on this, and then I realized, oh, this is really voiced to be a vintage guitar. It does not have the girth of the Ultra, but it's kind of, that's the Jazzmaster purist thing, is it gets a little jangly. And
so this is why I was asking the question,
Yeah.
because this isn't a comparison video. We will do one of
we
those.
definitely will.
But I think sometimes when it comes to having a vintage spec guitar, a frame of reference is needed because we are very far removed from 1966.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're born in 66 and I offended you by saying that, sorry. Just
See you at Luby's.
for the Lou-Head platter. So people in Texas will get that reference. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you need a reference. If you haven't played a 60s, Jazzmaster, you've played more modern iterations. What is really the difference?
Yeah.
So we could talk about like the neck shape and radii and all of that stuff, but pickups, there's a big distinction.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So the thing is, really, you got a few options when it comes to true Jazzmasters that don't have humbuckers in them, like the Player Series or anything like that. A Vintera, a American Pro 2, an American Performer,
Yeah.
and the American Vintage and the Ultra. You kind of have really different pickups in all of those.
And these are Jazzmaster pickups. I feel
Yeah.
it seems like every video needs repeating. They're not humbuckers, they're single coils, and they're not P90s.
Yeah.
They're kind of like P90s, but they're different from P90s. They are a unique pickup.
Yeah, it's a unique pickup, and the thing is, for a lot of people, when they see this and they think about it as a P90 in some sort of way, they see that it's kind of the wider wind and more mellow kind of vibe. Everybody thinks about it as, oh, it's a really warm, jazzy tone. And you can get that rhythm circuit, you can get that from the neck, mess around with the tone, but once you start getting down here, it's a jangly, bright, almost thin sounding pickup. And I started playing around on it today. I have this sort of sound that I associate with my Ultra, which is a Jazzmaster, but it is a very modern and very different Jazzmaster. And so what I expected when I started going down with the bridge pickup, it totally took me by surprise. And then I was like, oh, this is the 60s sound. This is meant to be played on some, there's a reason why it wasn't taken to by guys that are playing jazz boxes. It was taken to by surf performers and punk rock and indie rock and stuff like that. So it's a very, very cool sound, but in my mind, I was like, oh, my Jazzmaster's super warm. I'm going to switch it out to get a nitro guitar that's a little more vintage spec'd, and I'm going to have all that warmth. It's not going to be as warm all over the place.
Right.
It's got a very specific warm section, in the neck and in the rhythm circuit.
By the way, when you go to rhythm circuit, you're required to then play a bunch of chords with add 9s and 13s in it.
You have
and
to do
diminished
it.
seventh.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
So it's interesting because it is the Jazzmaster. I feel like it's known to be a very versatile guitar, but in maybe the Pro 2s, Vinteras, Ultras, there's less variation between all of it. I think this covers a very wide spectrum.
To me, the vintage spec Jazzmasters are kind of like how Tellys can be. It's kind of like a Jekyll Hyde between the two sides of the guitar. So, and I find that to be a very good thing. It's a very versatile type of guitar, but you kind of need to know that going in. There's other cool things about this guitar that I'm interested in. So for one, this bridge seems nice, rock solid.
It's super solid.
Yeah, a lot of Jazzmaster bridges, particularly from the past, people replace them with like the Mastery bridge, because it's got like various issues of movement and stuff. This is made very, very well, even though it's vintage spec. And then, of course, the other cool thing on Jazzmasters I feel like enough people don't appreciate is the tremolo lockout.
Yeah.
So you can set this up, lock out the tremolo, go to drop D, and it's locked in place. It's not going to mess up the tuning for you. So just little bonus feature. So.
Yeah, I think that a really cool thing about Jazzmasters and Jaguars, not only the offset body that make them just kind of cool in and of themselves, but different switching options, different sort of tremolo than you would find on a Strat or something like that.
Well, this was like Leo Fender's improved design.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that's interesting about Jazzmaster and Jaguar is, he's famous for, producing these Fender instruments, and a Telecaster is very much like a first attempt. It is a cutting board with pickups on it. I love Telecasters. In fact, I was talking to David the other day and I said, I've long joked that you could beat someone with a Telecaster and it stays in tune. And it turns out that's been proven on stage. So, a Telecaster is very, very simple. And then you had the next iteration was the Stratocaster. And then the next iterations were the Jaguar and the Jazzmaster. And it really was trying to find solutions for some of these issues and coming up with new designs and techniques.
Yeah, and I feel like Jazzmaster and Jaguar were like these luxury guitars.
I love the offset body.
Yeah, it's just super cool. And we have talked about it plenty of times. I think a few good, I've mentioned Surf, but you think about Chris Stapleton in the bridge position with some reverb and some tremolo on there. It's like a desert, real like...
It's a sharp, attacky
very cool
thing, but it's not ice picky like a Tele bridge could be.
Yeah.
And so you've got that kind of sharp attack and response that cuts through the mix without being overly harsh.
Not being harsh. Yeah. It's a special guitar, and I think the fact that it was a little surprising to me playing it is a testament to it is not meant to be like this jack of all trades thing. It's meant to emulate what they sounded like in the 60s. I think they did a great job with it. I'm going to go on record saying this one's not coming home with me because if I get one, it's going to be Dakota Red. But this one's very nice. I'm excited to mess around on it. For you guys to hear it,
all right,
let's do it.
Let's check it out. So there you have it. It's the sound of the 60s coming from a guitar made just this year and from the talented fingers of Cooper Greenberg. So Dakota Red would be your choice.
I really like the Dakota Red. I do think
I
even
like
though the blue and the red I think are the really cool additions just because, this is the classic, but it's nice to have some colors that are a little more collector focused. I do love a tortoiseshell pickguard on Jazzmaster though, so those come with white. I'd probably switch it out to a tortoise, but... That'd
be cool. Red and tortoise would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, great execution on this. One of the nice things is it's a well-made guitar. You can kind of look at it and not find any flaws. The pots feel really good. The controls feel really good. It's funny, little things. Yeah. So these top hat knobs, I have a Tele that had these, and it was a less expensive Tele, and the plastic was different, and it was like cheaper. Yeah. It felt softer. Like it's a weird thing. Yeah. But the tactile aspects of a guitar is so important because it's literally a hands-on instrument that I like feeling around on guitars. We've done those blind tests before. Yeah. That's how you could tell. It's like little things. Yeah. It's like, okay, the plastic on this is better. The pots on here is better. The switch is
even just
better.
Feeling, little finished stuff. So the other thing is I've seen a lot of people that have gotten their American Vintage IIs and they've complained, oh, this guitar is not set up right because I can't bend 3 steps. But you got to remember, this isn't your 10 to 14 inch radius.
I can bend just fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's some people, especially on
No,
like
it's
the
I
51
was cheating.
tellies.
That was a G.
Yeah.
If you grab around the B string, it tends to, right?
Yeah.
And it's because it's a 7.5 or 7.25 radius. It's a very rounded, radius on the
The
fingerboard.
further back you go, you're gonna get smaller and smaller radii.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work like your Charvel does, you know.
But it's really great if you like, particularly Hendrixy stuff, Mayer stuff. Like if you're playing chord forms while
Yeah.
doing like little licks, really a lot of the way you play, rather than single note bendy stuff, it feels more comfortable because it's rounder.
Yeah.
So.
I would just say with the new line, I commend Fender for saying this isn't going to be like, that's why they have the American Professional too,
Right.
for being a perfect amalgamation of every single Strat that came before it, or Jazzmaster or Tele, and this is like the one that you need for the kind of jack of all trades instrument. These are really focused on, this is a special point in time of Fender's history,
It's like,
recreating it, you know.
if you walk into a Ford dealership right now
Yeah.
and you buy a brand new 2022 Mustang, it is obviously inspired by the past,
Yeah.
but it's got Bluetooth and
Yeah.
it's got all sorts of whiz-bang stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
It's got nice suspension stuff. But a 67 Mustang's cooler,
It is cool.
but it's not as fast and it doesn't
Not as
drive as
comfortable,
well.
not-
It's not as
yeah.
quiet, but it's cool. So anyways, always reminds me of that.
Yeah, these are cool guitars for those of you that are interested in collecting vintage instruments that you're not going to go. I mean, we saw 66 Jazzmasters at the last guitar show we went to that were being bought by one booth for $8,000 and marked up at another booth for $15,000, you know.
And not original and really not as good condition or kind of
And maybe
quality as these.
not built
Yeah,
as
not built as well.
consistently. So really nice guitars. I think the only one that we have left that we have not gotten to play is the 77 Tele Custom without a belly cut.
Yeah, still waiting for those.
So we shall see, but we're almost rounded out with getting to play everything on the AV2 series, and I really like them. This is obviously the one I've been waiting for. Doesn't disappoint.
Well, there you go. So if you're looking for a vintage spec Fender guitar in any of the AV2 series, you want to check out our website, which is
alamomusic.com/brands/Fender, filter by American Vintage II, and you'll find this one.
You'll find them all there.
Yeah.
You can chat with someone online. Of course, you can also come into one of our stores, email, or give us a call. We'll be glad to help you find the right guitar to suit your needs. I always say at the end of the day, the best guitar in the world is the one that you are playing, whether you need something from 66, or you are from 66, or you predate 66, or you've never even heard of 66. We will make sure that you find the right guitar to suit your needs. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, and keep coming back for more. We'll see you next time.